This is Gino Ray. I'm sitting here with Chevelle. Che, can you tell everybody your name is Che and welcome to Native as I Can Be? Thank you. Let's start the show. Hello, and welcome to Native as I Can Be. Between Two Cultures, I am your host, Gino F. and Ray. Going to be doing something a little different today. If you're hearing this intro, that means that you are listening to the non-live version of the show. I'm recording an intro for the show, and then in about 10 minutes I'm going on Facebook Live and recording off the cuff. So we'll see how that goes. I'm not sure if it's even going to work, if there's going to be audio or anything. I haven't even tried it, so we'll see. But I am going to give it a shot, and this topic is, of course, cultural appropriation, which you have probably guessed since you clicked on the episode, and that was the title. So, yeah, just to kind of catch people up, yeah, the episodes are few and far between. It's very difficult with kids and life and jobs, and even during this coronavirus when I'm actually home more. I'm actually spending more time with the kids, which is awesome, but harder to sit down and do something like this. But we're doing okay here during coronavirus times, and we are in a very lucky position where we are both still working and still getting to spend time with kids, and so we're collecting checks, and we're actually doing okay. We're doing better than a lot of people, and we're very fortunate that it worked out like that. This is one of those weird, well, it's that weird week that I have where, on April 24th I have Bam's birthday, and April 25th is Laura's birthday, and that's always a weird mix, because those two people, Pam's and her, have had two of the biggest impacts on my life, and that's not a knock on anybody or any situation, but I mean, Bam's being my first kid and really falling in love with him and falling in love with being a dad, and that carrying over to Che now and McCunny, but and Laura, who came to my rescue after I lost Bam's and really saving my life, and I'm not exaggerating. That's not even hyperbole. That's the truth of the matter, was that I was waiting to die, and it was taking forever. But she stuck by my side and helped me get on my feet, and now we are where we are, which is this house in the neighborhood with the kids and the cars and the cooking dinner every night and eating at the table and talking to. I mean, it's amazing. This is this is where I ended up. If you were to look at where I was 4 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was. So having their birthdays back to back, and one being a sad reminder and one being a happy reminder, it's very it's just kind of turbulent, I think, is the only way I can put it. I've said this before, but it gets a little easier every year for Bam's birthday, and sometimes I feel guilty about that. Like I don't love him like I used to, or uh, maybe I'm over it, or But I don't think either of those are true. Um, I think time heals, and it still makes me sad, and I still watch the videos I made of him, and just think about it being his birthday, and it chokes me up. It's sad, and and just thinking about like where he would fit in this family I have now, and just how well he would do, because we're all so tight with each other and warm, and you know we really have a good unit, and we communicate well, and we help each other out, and we hold each other accountable too. But um, so yeah, it's just kind of sad that he's kind of missing all this, but uh, I also think he's right here with us. And I posted on Facebook the other day. I was holding a picture, or I was holding a photo album with pictures of Bams in it, and I was showing it to Che, and Che had never seen it before, and and he likes to, we got pictures hanging in the hallway, and he likes to go and point at the pictures and point to the person in the picture, and it's one of the things he likes to do. Um, so like the picture of McCunny on the wall, he points to McCunny, or he points to McCunny's room, or whatever. So, but I pulled out this photo album with Bams in it, and showed it to him. I opened it and showed it to him, and he immediately pointed straight up, and that was uh, that was that hit me right in the chest, and I almost started crying right then, and then so I thought, well, no, yeah, that could be anything, fluke. So I turned to a different picture, and in a different part of the book, again one that he'd never seen, and I had told Laura what he did, and so I turned to that picture to see if he would do it again, and he did it again. He pointed to the picture. He pointed straight up. Um, so to me, that was all I needed to know that Bams was here with us, and that Che has a little guardian angel that happens to be his brother, and also his grandpa. Like Che's really into planes right now, and if we're walking or out in the yard or something, he sees a plane, he has to stop what he is doing to look at the plane, point at the plane, and wave at it. And his grandpa on Laura's side used to fly planes, so it's just one of those things. Like, could mean nothing, but it could mean everything. So I like to believe, and it makes me feel better to believe that it means something. So yeah, so that's kind of what's going on this week, and we are enjoying the nice weather, and enjoying the time we're getting to spend with each other, and honestly, because Laura's going to work a couple days a week, sometimes 3, and I'm working half days. Like, it's good that we're here and spending all this time with each other, and I think it's good to get to step out for a little bit, if you don't mind me saying. And I feel for those people that got laid off, and not only having money issues if they are, but having nowhere to go for a few hours, and I feel for you. But so yeah, that's the coronavirus update, and I think I'm going to hop off now and go over to Facebook Live and start recording this episode. So uh, if you are not listening to this live, welcome. Thank you for coming, and then I don't know what's going to happen after this. I may be on the I may be recording this by myself, or I may have some people call in, surprisingly, but we'll see. Thank you for listening. Thanks for being on this journey with me. This is Native as I Can Be. My name is Gino Ray. Let's go. So this episode is going to be about cultural appropriation, which is one of my favorite things to talk about because I think it is a overlooked element of what's up, Jeremy Lewis? Overlooked aspect of racism, classism, whatever you want to call it. So I will give you the definition that I found of cultural appropriation, which is the act of adopting elements of an outside, often minority culture, including knowledge, practices, and symbols, without understanding or respecting the original culture or context. It often occurs without understanding of tradition or significance of the objects or the activities, and often turning them into meaningless pop culture. So that's one of the ideas behind it, I guess. This is hard. It's hard to have notes over there, trying to read the notes without just staring down at the notes. So cultural appropriation, one of the things that I see appropriated from native culture is the dream catcher in the window, the rear view mirror, I should say. And the kind of general idea behind a dream catcher is you hang it by your window or an entrance to your house, and it's intended to keep the evil spirits out of your house, out of your room, and the ones that invade your mind and make you have bad dreams. That's the idea. It's to protect you while you're sleeping from evil entities, being whatever. So to have a dream catcher hanging from the rear view mirror of your car only makes sense if you are in fact sleeping in your car. But you see them all the time, and I see them at in some kind of this is an assumption on my part, but maybe some native looking people's car. So that's an easy example. I think I want to talk about music. I think music is a good, maybe the best example of cultural appropriation. And when you're talking about music, the names that always come to mind as far as white men, white people appropriating black music, I would have to say Elvis, probably number one. Vanilla Ice, number two, and then Eminem, that's the tricky one to me. But let me tell you some stuff I read about Elvis here. So in the Chicago Defender back in the day, they said of Elvis, Chuck Berry was the true king of rock and roll. Had Berry been white, he could have just as easily taken Elvis's throne and worn his crown well. And I think they're saying there that, Chuck Berry was doing everything that Elvis did, and he was doing it 10 years earlier. But because Elvis is white, and that makes him a little more palatable to white audiences, and especially back when they were still doing segregated, dance halls and facilities like that. And it was hard. It wouldn't have been easy for someone like Chuck Berry to play his music for white audiences. Um, Something interesting about that is James Brown, the godfather of soul, said, talking about Elvis, "I wasn't just a fan, I was his brother. There'll never be another like that soul brother." He called Elvis a soul brother. That's James Brown. That's the authority on soul music, if you ask me, and funk. But there's a lot of funk authorities. George Clinton, Bootsy, all those guys. And here's what Elvis himself had to say about it. "A lot of people seem to think I started this business, but rock and roll was here a long time before I came along. Nobody could sing that kind of music. No one could sing that kind of music like colored people. Let's face it, I can't sing like Fats Domino. I know that." So there you have a quote from the King saying that he did not invent this genre of music, or even that he perfected it. He's saying right here that he kind of came along and got on board, but he still couldn't sing like a Fats Domino. But Fats Domino is one of the artists that was definitely harmed, or I don't know, displaced maybe is a better way to put it. But at the height of Elvis's career, he was making $2 million a year, which I don't know what that would be in today's numbers, but back then that was a lot. And at the height of Fats Domino's career, he was making $700,000. So, can you say one of those guys is better or worse than the other one, or that the other one was just more widely accepted? I don't know. The next topic is everyone's favorite, Mr. Vanilla Ice, maybe. But yeah, Vanilla Ice, a cultural appropriator, if there ever was one. This is my opinion. Vanilla Ice came out, did hip hop music, and he tried to adopt, I should say, mannerisms or slang or attitude of hip hop musicians at the time to appeal to a broader audience. And he sold 1 billion records when To the Extreme came out, and I remember when that album came out, and I was a little into hip hop already, not as deep as I would get, but I had already heard some Tribe Called Quest and De La Soul and Too Short even, and I didn't get Vanilla Ice. And what came about later was this fabrication of, he went to the same school as Luke, his Uncle Luke, and that his mom taught at some university, that, just a bunch of bullshit that came out. And it was a very clear cash-in my opinion. And so then, once he's kind of outed, he goes back sort of underground, and then comes back with dreadlocks. Like, seriously, dude, dreadlocks? Come on. You've already got a reputation, and you don't have respect from the hip-hop community, or anybody, really, maybe. And then you tell people that you're not appropriating the culture, and then you come back with dreadlocks. Oh, no. That was misguided. But I guess if you ask him, he did not. The whole made up backstory and all that stuff was not his idea. It was done without his permission, from what I hear or what I read. And then there's Eminem. Eminem I'm a fan of, and here is where I struggle with the cultural appropriation thing when it comes to Eminem. Uh, I I he has a couple lines in a couple of his songs where he said he says something about doing black music so selfishly and use it to get myself wealthy, and that's not really an apology. That's more of a acknowledgement. And he has another line where he says, "If I was black, I wouldn't have sold half. I didn't have to graduate from high school to know that." Um, so he seems to be aware of what he's doing, but is still making money off of it. But here's the reason why I like Eminem, and I think Vanilla Ice is trash. Because I think if Eminem had never sold an album, I think he would still be making hip hop music. I think that he appreciated the music and the culture, and before he ever tried to do it on his own, or make his own, I should say. And so to me, Eminem is he's he's complicated. It's just complicated. I think when he first kind of blew up, maybe the way he dressed was a little bit appropriating, but I don't know, man. Here's the thing about hip hop. I think hip hop, maybe more so any any music, is uh, universally accepted. And here's what I mean by that. So you can look at rock music, rock and roll music, and it was started by African Americans. It came from blues music, which came from gospel, etc., etc. But today's rock and roll is mostly done by Caucasian musicians for a Caucasian audience. And I know somebody wants to jump in quick and say, well, what about so and so? What about so and so? I'm speaking in generalities here. Rock music is mostly done by white musicians, and I would say mostly for white crowds. They know their crowd is going to mostly be white. And if you want to get into these subgenres of rock and roll, I think that's going to be the same statement. Country music, which you could also say evolved from blues or gospel, is the same story. It's mostly white musicians making music for mostly white people. And I'm sure there's exceptions. I don't listen to a lot of country, so maybe I shouldn't even be commenting on it. But the country that I do listen to, which is Hank Sr. and Johnny Cash, Hank Jr., Waylon, Merle, those are all white guys. So I don't know. So anyways, what I'm driving at here is that genre of music is mostly white music for mostly white people. Hip hop music started in the Bronx, in poor neighborhoods, who were using two turntables to do the block party and basically play the break from a song continuously, because that's the part everybody wanted to dance to. But it was in predominantly black neighborhoods for predominantly black audiences. Now I really feel like hip hop is the most accepted, maybe not most accepted, but is the most widely listened to form of music across all ethnicities. And I think it's just become this universal form of music that everybody can get into. And it's done by black people and white people. It's still mostly black people, but I don't think that either black or white audiences are trying to appeal to just black or white audiences. And that's what makes it so universal to me. But I think it just illustrates the difference between other forms of music, that it is widely accepted and by all ethnicities. And I'm not trying to say that rock musicians are only trying to make music for white people, but I think that's mainly their audience. So, but again, speaking in generalities, and there's always exceptions, but that's just how I see things. And so, how does that fit into appropriation? I'm not sure, but I still think, it's mostly black music made for everybody, I guess. The other guy I wanted to talk about was Post Malone. Post Malone, very successful right now, and he actually recently tried to, well, not recently, a few years ago, tried to distance himself from hip hop music. He did not want to be labeled as a hip hop musician, or his music to be labeled hip hop or rap. And the interesting thing to me is his music is hip hop music. I mean, he can call it whatever he wants, but it is hip hop. It has a hip hop vibe. It sounds like hip hop music, and the dude raps. So I don't really know why he was distancing himself from it. And to me, that's a little more unsettling, that he wants to make a predominantly black form of music, but he doesn't want it to be called that form of music. And I don't know, maybe I was taking that all wrong. It was just in an article I read in GQ, and because nobody's more GQ than me. But that seemed a little bit like appropriation, to say that you don't want to be labeled as this form of music that is clearly the form of music that you're doing. So, yeah, I don't know what to make of that. There's a lot of little examples that come up as cultural appropriation. If you've seen the Disney movie Moana, shortly after that movie came out, there was they were selling Moana costumes, and of the guy Maui and of her, and that caused a little bit of a dust up, because they were taking on kind of aspects of Polynesian culture, which was the tattoos or the style of dress, and Polynesian people took exception to it. Like, we're not a costume. Like, that's what they were saying. These tattoos mean something in our culture, in our community, and they're not a gimmick. And I think they have a point. It's the same as if you wore one of those pointy straw hats, that they used to see Chinese people wearing. I mean, there's just a lot of ways you could do it, and I get people that say things like, "Aren't we all just getting a little too sensitive and getting offended by everything?" Well, I think that you have to respect everyone's culture, and I don't think anybody wants something that they take pride in their background to be diminished into a prop. So I get it. I just, like, if you're everybody knows the tomahawk chop, that I can't really do it, but to me that is a form of appropriation, when you have a group of several thousand people, and they are doing a kind of mock Native American war song and using their hand like a tomahawk. Come on. And people don't get why that would bother somebody. Like, I don't know, man. I didn't realize how much that kind of stuff was going on. And I went to a school called the Braves, Reedsport Braves, and they did that at the games. And I was a kid, and I'd be sitting right there doing this chop. So I guess maybe being the native in the crowd, maybe I brought a little bit of authenticity to it. Maybe. Here's a quote about black music. Sorry, I meant to read this earlier. For centuries, black music was caged in bondage and has been the sound of complete artistic freedom. No wonder everybody is always stealing it. That's heavy stuff, man. I'm going to say this. Doing this live without someone to talk to while I'm trying to stay on camera and talk into the mic and read my notes over here, which I'm holding far away because I don't want rustling on the audio, this is challenging. I don't know if I will do this again. At least maybe not as kind of spur of the moment as I'm doing right now, which was getting home from work and then recording a podcast. We'll see. I don't know. If it gets a good response, maybe I'll do it again. But another place you see cultural appropriation is often in fashion industry. And there was a thing a couple years ago where they had Victoria's Secret models walking down the catwalk wearing headdresses. And of course that was a big no-no. And the thing that you hear the most, or at least you hear often, is that they're honoring the culture by throwing a headdress on a Victoria's Secret model, or having them dressed up in geishas, or putting them in dreadlocks. They've done that. Their defense is that they're honoring the culture, and I don't think I can agree with that. Not unless you had native models doing it, or Asian models doing geisha outfits, but I just don't see how turning it into a costume or a prop or a device to sell clothes, I don't see how that honors anybody's culture. That is a tired excuse, in my opinion. But Marc Jacobs, who is he had the white models and the dreadlocks, he said, "Funny how you don't criticize women of color for straightening their hair." Oh boy. I don't think that's the same thing, but I'm not a fashion expert. Another one I read was, what would America be like if we loved black people as much as we love black culture? And to me, that's another profound statement. And for those of you that have seen the movie Get Out, that's what that movie largely deals with, is looks at race and looks at the physical attributes of black people and compared to white people. I don't want to give it away, but if you haven't seen it, you should definitely go see it. It's that good. And it's scary, but it's not a horror movie by any means. So I don't think that racism is as in your face as it used to be. Well, maybe it is. I mean, there's not lynchings going on, but I still think there's a pretty good divide between African American people or people of color and certain types of, let's call them those separatists. I think that's what they like to be called, these white separatists. But I still think that racism is a system that's still in place, and it's uh, to take privilege and power from brown people. And you might think that's extreme, but I think it is. It's just an old system that it is taking a while to get out of, and I don't know how you do it, but it was a very real thing, and it was a very real system back in the day, and I think the remnants of it and the hangover from it is still being felt. Um, but you are starting to see more brown people in high positions and getting to the top, and it's crazy that it's 2020 and we still see articles about the first African American this, the first African American that, the first African American to do this crazy task, and that it's 2020 and we're just getting to that stage. And then I see stuff like, comment section are the worst, the worst thing ever. If you want to get a glimpse of why there is a divide in this country, or why people feel there is a divide in this country, go look at the comment section. I mean, that place is pure hate and ignorance and stupidity. And so if you see an article, like there was I don't remember the woman's name, but she was hired by the 49ers, and she was one of the first, I think, I should have wrote this down, but she's one of the first type of coach in the National Football League. She's an African American, and she's the first ever, wide receiver coach or whatever it was. To me, that's an accomplishment. But of course, the comments are like, she doesn't deserve to be there. What's she ever done? Why does it got to be about her being black? Blah 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 blah. And the point of mentioning all those things is because she's going down in history as the first. And it's 2020, and that's how long it took to get a African American or a woman in that position. That's why it's notable. That's why it's supposed to be. That's why they announced it. It's not for publicity. It's like, well, okay, maybe a little bit for publicity, but that's the country, though. And people, I don't know why people are still so bothered by that kind of thing. And it's because of this hangover from this really fucked up system that this country used to be ran on. And I know there's people out there that wish it had never changed. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's a very tricky thing, this cultural appropriation, and there's not really any answers. But it's two groups that aren't on a level playing field, and one culture taking from the other one, and giving nothing in return, and that's a problem. And it's cherry picking the things that you admire from culture or respect or think is cool, and kind of minimize them from the significance they have in the culture. And one of the things that was brought up was, Laura brought this up. She was asking me if I thought yoga and yoga teachers were is cultural appropriation. And I don't know much about yoga. I don't know the origins of it, but I think that could easily be seen that way because of, I'm sure if you went back to the origin of yoga and traced it up to where we are now, I don't think that it was ever meant to be taught at some strip mall and by a white person for an all-white crowd. And I'm not saying that somebody that when they came up with yoga they were like, don't show white people, but I think if you looked at what yoga was intended to be, I think that, I don't know that making money was one of the things involved, but I guess that's what it all boils down to. But so if you know about yoga, let me know. I don't know anything about it, but I assume it's developed in suburban United States. There you go. I like yoga too, by the way. I sometimes will hop on YouTube and watch the and perform yoga moves and exercises. So I'm part of the problem. I'm part of the yoga problem. Next time I do one of these, I'm going to make sure I got a guest, because this is awkward as hell. Sitting here, talking to myself, looking back, looking down at my own face. And then, of course, there's like a lag. So my face is like, and my mouth is like, so, yeah. We'll see if this is the end of the Facebook Live experiment. So, I think I'm going to wrap this up. I'm 40 minutes into it. That seems alright for my first go-round. When it comes to Native America, which is what this whole podcast was originally supposed to be about, was Native Americans in America and the challenges and successes and where we're at in 2019, 20 and beyond. There's traditions in Native culture that have been cherry picked also, and I'm not just dream catchers, but sweat lodges. I don't know, man. I got stuck there. I think if you want to respect and appreciate people or a culture, you need to recognize and confront and disassemble that long, harmful system that's been in place. And by the way, I don't think it should be people of color's responsibility to confront racism. We've already done it. I think it's on people to hold each other accountable. I think that if you want to help dismantle this system, you need to talk to people of color about their problems. Like, I've brought this up with, before with Indians. It's the fact that our teen suicide rates are higher, that our murdered and missing indigenous women numbers are higher, that alcoholism rates and diabetes rates, obesity rates across the board in so many categories, those numbers are higher in Native communities, and the number of us living below poverty, and which I'm lucky enough to not be one of, but I have been. Many natives are, and even there's still theft of land going on today. By the way, for these people, I mean the people going after tribal lands for resources, whether it's oil or mineral deposits or what have you. That's still going on. It just rarely makes the front page anymore. If you can talk to a native about this kind of stuff and get their opinion and get their ideas for solutions, I think that if you have that conversation, I think that's a good way to end the cycle of appropriation. When you get to know any person of color and get to see their perspective on what it's like to live in this country today, I think that you'll have a greater respect and understanding of where they're coming from, and maybe less likely to cherry pick their culture for the good stuff, and that would put an end to this cultural appropriation thing. And that's my Jerry Springer final thought. Like, get to know some people of colors. Go outside of your normal group of people and just experience what their life is like, or maybe not firsthand, but at least have a conversation about it. And I think that will get us a lot further in this country, and there will be less of a division. But I want to add, though, by the way, if there is anybody that's guilty of cultural appropriation, it is me. Uh, I don't know if many of you know this. I'm sure some of you do, but I used to drive around with 4 luchador masks on my headrest in my car. I am not Latino. I am not. Um, I'm not Mexican. I don't have any South American blood in me. I was, in my opinion, appropriating Mexican or lucha libre culture, and I was doing it because because I liked the masks and I liked the match. So you can maybe say, well, you're just a fan and you like it, so you're showing that you like it. But where the line is crossed is if you have ever seen one of my luchador-based commercial parodies where I wore my mask and donned a horrible Mexican accent, like, hey, it's me, El Guapo, like, and that's where the line was crossed, in my opinion. And I wrote a children's book about 2 luchadors where some of it was in Spanish, some was in English, but I wanted to make sure I had a Latino person. I almost wanted a Latino person to sign off on it to kind of give me some cred with the Latino community. And because I was like, I don't know if I should be doing this. So by the way, I actually took those luchador masks down because I was feeling so, didn't know if I was doing the right thing by having them there. And I still have them all. I didn't get rid of them, but I kind of thought I was cherry picking from Mexican culture, just the stuff that I wanted, and leaving the less savory stuff. And I also trip on my taste in music, and like I was saying, I've been a hip hop fan my whole life. I've recorded hip hop music, and I love hip hop music, and it's a big part of who I am, and it's a big part of how it controls a large part of my day. I mean, if I'm at work, I'm mostly listening to hip hop music or my own podcast, but I've often wondered if I've appropriated hip hop music or black culture as a result. And I used to do a character back in the day when I was walking around recording everything I did, and I used to do this character that was supposed to be this kind of over the top, annoying kind of wannabe MC or something. I mean, it was a backwards hat, and it was like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? Yeah, this is Gino. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and do this, yo. We're gonna do that, yo. We're gonna do this and that, and that, And I was just trying to be funny, but looking back on it, that was me kind of taking elements from a culture and getting the cream off the top and not looking at the rest of the culture. And but I was in my 20s and I probably had never even heard of the phrase cultural appropriation then. But I just look back and I just like, like that could be taken the wrong way. Um, Even though I would call myself in the hip hop culture, it's still iffy to me. People may disagree, but um, so those are kind of two examples of my own where I have felt like I have crossed the line. Especially the luchador thing, the hip hop thing, not as much. I mean, I've been listening to hip hop and know enough hip hop that I don't feel like I was an outsider, uh, but more of a connoisseur. But that's about where it ended. Then I entered some, but okay, all right. This is what I was saying too about hip hop being universal, because it was enjoyed by me, who's this native kid from Oregon and Arizona, and I enjoyed all hip hop music and still do. Even the young guys today, I like them too, because I like anybody that's just doing their thing, and they've got a measure of success from it. Like, I am not a hater at all, of any rapper or any artist that's had any degree of success. I'm happy for you, but that's that. So, alright, well, I've been going for 50 minutes. I don't know, man. I'm not really sure about the Facebook Live thing, but that definitely felt much more, what's the word? Just on demand, or um, I was. I don't think it turned out the way I would have. I don't think it would. I don't think it came out the way it would have if I had just recorded it. Not live, not on camera. There was this kind of pressure to keep going, and I just wasn't. I just didn't. But whatever. I got a new one in the books. I tried something new. Uh, Happy if you checked it out. You can go listen to this podcast if you would like on Anchor FM, Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, I should say, Radio Public, a couple places. But yeah, I think it might be a while before I do a live episode, until I can get somebody to hop on board with me and take some of the burden off my hands. So, alright, thank you for watching or listening. I don't know what my next episode will be or when. Just know that it's going to be better than this one. Thank you very much.